up, we knew we had the same issues, but we were concealing them. Our parents were concealing them from us, and there is just different ways of thinking that have changed.
Yeah, I feel like it was non-existent. Like I never saw or heard anybody talking about, oh, I'm going to go see a therapist, as much as I hear it now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never thought that I would be subject to even wanting to do that, because number one, you telling your business. Two, you're telling somebody you don't know.
Your business.
But then again, sometimes now that I'm older, that would be the best thing to do, because when you feel like you have good relationships with people, I don't care who it is, they gonna tell some motherfucker, okay? They gonna tell somebody. I don't care if it's their spouse, their significant other, another friend. I don't care when somebody be like, oh, I'm not gonna tell. So going to someone you don't even know, that's ideal.
And I think that, since, we was never diagnosed or diagnosed properly anyway, growing up. So everything has been Eurocentric, categorized, what's going on in our life, personal life, our children, and all the stuff that when they go to school, how they say that we have ADHD and all this stuff. What do you think about some of those? I know you deal with more in the alcohol and drug abuse, and that does play a factor in a lot of the children's behavior. Can you explain that part before you?
Well, I guess to clarify, I am like a mental health therapist. I do carry a master's degree in clinical counseling. However, I guess I've done a lot of my field work in drug and alcohol, but I do have a mental health counseling degree with an emphasis on drug and alcohol. So I'm dually licensed with them.
So you deal with more of the children or the adults?
I deal with really whoever needs some help now, but I was just working at a treatment center where I learned a lot about drug and alcohol specifically.
Okay.
But I guess one of my mentors, his name is Mr. Larry Duncan.
Yeah.
He explained something when I was over at Charles Drew. There's a concept of Black people being direct descendants of slaves. And that's so basically there's trauma embedded in us from slavery days that's been carried on for generations.
It has never been diagnosed or diagnosed with
right.
Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of we're trying to break away from maybe some of the slave mentality, the way we were trained up by slave masters. But unfortunately, it's a deep rooted mentality.
I think this is a perfect time for you to slide in here and piggyback off of that.
Because you're doing great with that.
Let us know something as far as your point of view on that.
So I'll say that I agree with her 100%. Where I come in at is that I'm described or consider myself to be a Black nationalist, a Pan-Africanist. So with me having the understanding of that in which she just spoke of, what I do is I focus on the reintroduction to self and the reintroduction to resources, the resources that have been strategically misplaced and taken from us, starting with the young Black men. So teaching them how to do certain things, carpentry, hunting, fishing, shooting, building, and educating them all the way around the spectrum is where I come in. But the approach that I take is from a Pan-Africanist approach in regards to loving yourself and your culture and where you come from, and teaching you that you are the original man. So I do agree with what she has said, and where I play a part is reintroducing them to that.
So, if you don't mind me asking, I'm sorry. If you don't mind me asking, so with your religious background, right? How does your religion speak on mental health, therapists, that type of thing? Like, how is that thought on?
It's levels to it. It's levels to how it's laid out to us. Because though I'm a Muslim, there's even degrees to being a Muslim. You see what I'm saying? being the practice or the practice within itself. For example, let's say the men, we're told that it's mandated for us, obligatory, to go to the masjid and pray, whereas the woman, she don't have to go to the masjid and pray. She can stay at home. But the thing about the man, our minds, it deviates a lot. I think most men would agree with that, just that we deviate. So taking ourselves under a constant regimen of discipline is one of the remedies, as far as the prayers and even eating, working out and stuff like that. Me and Mike Phelps just got done talking about that. So there's certain things that's prescribed for us to combat some of those things.
Yes.
And then can you elaborate more on the difference between Pan-Africanism, Afrocentrism, pro-Black nationalism? Are they interconnected? Are there strike differences between the four? Like, how would you define that? And then I wanted to go back to you and ask you, like, how would you define the nuance of these titles? Or how would you explain the nuance of these titles, and then kind of tying it to how you were talking about it's in our DNA, the slavery mentality, and how we can break the slavery mentality through learning and researching these different avenues of Blackism, I guess, so to speak.
Okay, so Pan-African, that's my political stance, right? And if you look up the definition of Pan-Africanism, that's no more than all of the African diasporas coming together as one, as a collective. So then they do correlate, like in regard to the Black nationalism, and that I referred to just culture wise. You know what I mean? If I go spend $20 with Jackson's Takeout, I'm going to give them 25. If they're only charging 20, I'm going to give them 25, because I understand our condition, especially in business. You see what I'm saying? So I'm always going to go the extra mile for somebody who look like me. When we speak in regard to like Black nationalism, I'm always going to do that,
Right.
because I understand the condition,
Right.
So that would be my my response to that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Yeah,
And
okay.
then with Rose, like just tying the mental health with like the slavery mentality, breaking some of the behaviors and the ideas of, like, for instance, us spanking our children, right? Like, how much of that is a direct association to how the slave masters interacted with us as slaves, and as far as us parenting that way, as far as the discipline part of parenting, I guess. How do you think how do you think learning about Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism would tie into, kind of redirecting some of those behaviors? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So to be quite honest with you all, I don't know a lot about Pan-Africanism, but I do know about a gentleman by the name of Dr. Umar Johnson. He, I think that's his biggest claim, is to be Pan-African, and he would be like the popular Pan-African individual that we all know. And I've actually listened to him talk a lot. He's come here to Omaha, and I have listened to him. And I agree with him. It takes some strong leaders like him, Qasim, and other male leaders, because I know he talked a lot about not believing in ADHD, even though it is a real diagnosable condition, but he talks about ain't no daddy in the home.
Right.
He says that a lot. And then he talked about developing the school to kind of like take some of our good traditional ways back and put them back into the homes, but then also break some of the stuff or the ways that they would like to portray Black people, ain't no daddy in the home type stuff, and put some strong male figures with kids that maybe don't have access to male figures. I am a product of having a father and actually being raised with a father in my home. We did not get a lot of spankings because that just didn't require that for us. And we turned out, I think my dad is pretty proud of us. it's just hard to know because a lot of things that we do are things that we were raised to do.
Mhm.
You know, and I feel like I said, stemming back from us being beat and being reared, or now we do that to our children.
Mhm.
When in reality, I do feel like there is a level of like spare the child, spare the rod, spoil the child, and then there's a level like levels to the abuse,
Mhm. Right.
and everything doesn't take a corporal
whooping
punishment.
or yeah.
Excessive force.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Like
sparing the rod,
sometimes if
and sparing the rod ain't always a
If-
physical thing.
if you build some rapport with your children and they end up having some respect for you, you could talk with them
Mhm.
and earn discipline them with your mouth.
Because
Yeah.
we debate this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We debate this all the time about, let's just say you have a child and he's getting in trouble. He's not making good choices. He's hanging with gang members and whatever else. And then he gets in trouble. But you being a good parent, is that still a bad reflection on you?
You're saying
What
it's
do
a bad reflection.
No, that's a question.
Well, no, I mean, children have choices. Even my 2-year-old I was just hanging out with, he make his own choices for real. I just
I
got
get that.
a 2-year-old. Yeah, a 2-year-old.
But
My grandson.
honestly, the way we
Yeah, so-
grew up,
yeah.
the way we grew up in this, I'm a '70s baby, so
Yeah.
the way we grew up, no, that's a reflection of whoever my parents are.
Mhm.
I know it seems to be different now, and I've been in that situation where I know that this person is a good parent,
Mhm.
has good parents. This kid has 2 good parents, and still clowning.
Yeah.
Now I have been witness to that, but I'm still on the fence with it.
We know.
I still want to say it's the parent.
Yeah, well, parents are crucial, but peers also are powerful once once they get into other environments where their parents aren't around. Now, when it comes to discipline and what I did with my son, because I got whooped with a stitching cord and a switch,
Yeah.
and so I chose to break the cycle of slavery. I had resentment against my mom for a while because. But when I took my first psychology class,
Mhm.
I was able to understand why, because it was a learned behavior. She grew up in Sumner, Mississippi, the toughest racism on earth in the history of mankind. And so, and she grew up with it in a town where they freed Emmett Till, them 2 white men, they freed Emmett Till. That's where she grew up at. And so she grew up with whippings. And so when it came to my son, only time I associated pain with him doing something when he was messing with the electricity. So I had to associate pain with that. But other than that, I got on this level. I stood a holler at him. I got on this level, sat down, and I talked to him logically. I said, "You like getting in trouble?" He said, hey, they got pride. Kids got pride too. He said, "No, I don't like get pride." I said, "Dang, why are you doing this then?" You know what I mean? So we treat him. I treat him like he was an adult, and I respect him his feelings, but also I punish him in a way where we took away his privilege list versus associate everything with pain. And I didn't say the word whipping because I didn't want to continue to perpetuate slavery, as far as the language and the behavior in our family in this next generation. And so I understand what both of you are talking about because I've lived it. So how do you discipline your children now?
I don't really have too many issues with mine, but I have whooped them, and I'm sure my son got a few whoopings coming soon. So you know what I mean. So
Right.
I'm certain of it.
Well, I would change the word spanking because whipping is a slave term, just like picnic.
Right. So but what I do try to work around that.
Right.
You know what I mean. It's not definitely my last
resort. Right.
Literally last. You know what I mean. So I'm taking them through a strenuous process, which my son and my daughter wrestle, and they're looking real good right now. And my 12-year-old daughter and my 4-year-old son. And so there's certain things that I've done to my children and for my children to begin to teach them work ethic at a very early age, that those types of things translate you know, into other things later on. Respect. They get Roger Parker, Roger Parker down there at Ready RP, man. He take them through such a strenuous regimen that I don't have to whoop them too much
Right.
after those whoopings. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
it take a lot off of me. So yeah, I don't. It's my last resort for many of the reasons. One being that I don't want them to become abusive, right? So I try to stay away from that, and especially with my daughters, because I don't ever want them to feel like it's okay for a man to put his hands on them, right? So because I didn't, you see what I'm saying? So it's levels to it.
And sometime in the household, you know, growing up, I think what hurt us a lot is when they had made statements like, "What goes on in this house stays in this house." That was one of the biggest mental challenges that we have to break, because some of the things that happened in the house should have came outside of the house. You know what I mean? Molestation and all that stuff that was inside of the house. You know, abuse, like you said. Even the drug addictions. That was people was angry when they was high, and it was abusive. You know, those things should have came out. So it can be some proper help in that, and I think that's where we're missing that. I think that's where we need to go back and fix.
Yeah. And then, you know, I say that the importance of, you know, like corporal punishment, right? Now, no, I'm not, even as a mental health therapist, I'm not a perfect parent. And honestly, my daughter and I are very close. She's my only child. And because of that, she honestly almost sometimes feels like she's my friend and my counterpart. Because we were just close. And then she had my grandmother, she was old. Yeah. And she's just kind of older, always been a little bit more mature for her age. And honestly, anytime I put hands, I'm not even gonna say spanking, because it wasn't no spanking. Anytime I put hands on my daughter was out of fear. And it was lightweight abusive, if she's listening. Okay. Because I was scared. Like one of our last instances that happened not too long ago over the summer, she had a little drinking. And that was scary for me as a parent. And I didn't know what else to do, so I just pieced her up when I got to her. And then, you know, left her car and got her in the car. And then, you know, then we talked about it, never had another issue about it.
I'm telling you, I can remember all the whoopings I got when I was little. And it wasn't very many, probably 3. I asked my dad, how many did you ever give me? I think we were at 3. And sometimes that's all it takes. You know, I don't feel like parents, like, well, how do I want to say this? What do we call y'all, millenniums or
millennials? But I think that there's this gentle parenting.
I don't think y'all with y'all kids or nothing. I don't think you guys are as diligent as I feel like our parents were, because I feel like our parents had time. Right. I feel like parents nowadays, y'all ain't got time. Y'all working. You might be volunteering. You might be helping a mother, a father out, taking care of somebody. There's so much to do. If I honestly, if I allowed myself, I probably wouldn't go to bed till 11 o'clock at night, just because of all the stuff that I could be doing for other people as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think that's just a natural thing for Black people. I feel like
11 o'clock is early.
7 o'clock, my baby calling me. I don't know about y'all, but if I done did everything and ate dinner, oh, it's a wrap. But no, I just feel like, I think as Black people, I think we have that in us automatically to be a nurturer, to be a giver, to be someone that can't say no. You extend yourself, you offer yourself, you allow people to be in your space. But it's a beautiful thing. I love our people. I love everything that I do every day, regardless of whatever. I'm always gonna give you a discount. You ain't gotta ask me. I'm always gonna look out for you. If you need to pay me later, that's fine. I'm not gonna chase you down. I'm gonna give you what you need. all the time. I'm not gonna speak on it. You know why? Because my dad's been in business for 24 years. This was an additional job to his full-time job that he works in for 40 years. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There's no way. He has received his flowers. He does it not because to get rich, because we're not rich. When living off the hog, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah. But having said that, I mean, we're there for our community. Period. We have the lowest prices in town, and you're gonna get the same quality you can get anywhere.
So
I want our people, just like when I drive over to South Omaha, I want our people to think of LaFleur's first, not just LaFleur's, any black business that you're pulling up to, think of us first before you go anywhere else. Now, if we ain't got it, I'm gonna tell you, go here, I know where to go to get whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not no hater. But I just, that's a whole nother topic.
But
you might have to come back for that one too.
I think though, like bringing it back to this
Mhm.
is we don't have that sense of community that we once had,
Yeah.
because once again we're lacking the leadership, perhaps,
Mhm.
and that's why we need other individuals, others. Then I feel like I'm a leader in my own
Right.
Right. Yeah.
You're
entity,
right.
right? We need more leaders who are
Yes.
willing
To step up.
put it out there. You know, like you talk about, you know, the family business. There's lots of black owned businesses that need utilization.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
when it comes to apparel,
Mhm.
counseling services,
Mhm.
I have a couple of lists.
resume
that I got
writing,
that people
raising
post-
kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you're raising other people's kids.
And I
Yeah.
do, honestly, I do try to think, who can I get this from? Who got this? I do it all the time. I just wish that we had more like we, you know, real grocery stores, black owned grocery stores, you know. My envision, I wish I was rich, because I would have bought all of 24th Street, all of this up and down,
Mhm.
as much as possible.
Mm.
And it would be looking better
Yeah.
than
But don't you think that's within the home structure and what's missing? I always call 3 C's of loss, information, and loss, transition, and translation and interpretation. That is one of the C's I always think of, is that when it comes to parenting, it's consistency. We don't see that enough in our parenting today. They're not consistent going to the schools to check on their children. They're not consistent of making sure the children are learning in the home properly, not just handing the tablet or TV. Then I always look at how they committed to being a parent. Some people aren't committed. They had kids, but they're not committed to being a parent. You know, and it took me a while to become committed to being a father. You know, I had to go through some trials and tribulations because I wasn't taught how to be a father, so I ended up learning by bumping my head. So that was one of the things, commitment. Then I would say communication within the family dynamic. The kitchen table has been neutralized. They sent the bomb in, they blew it up. So guess what? Now we all dispersed into rooms, what we call barracks,
you're right about
and that's where they're at now. They're in the
You're
barracks, and they are defending for themselves. And if you try to interrupt that thing, you're gonna go to war in your own home. Anybody can elaborate that. That's Mr.
What
Help.
was the
That's what
last
you
C?
talking about. Huh?
What was the last C? I thought you said 3 C's.
Communication, commitment, and consistency.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I
Which is a bigger C called character, because all of them things. If you embrace all 3 of them, your character shows. So nobody knows.
Our fathers missing it. I think that's the problem. The fathers are missing in action, and these women are out here, myself included. I feel like I raised my kids by myself, even though their father was present. If I want to say present, present, by present I mean pay child support. As maybe 30% present with everything else. Because I feel like he always put his job before his family, you know. So I let him do it. As long as I was getting a check.
Can we ask a question? I want to ask him, how do you deal with, because you deal with a lot of children, especially young
the
men.
father's gone, they ain't present.
And how do you deal with the mother? Since the father ain't there, now you have to deal with more mothers.
Us mothers that don't want our babies hurt, we love our babies.
That's dying in the street and saying that my kid is innocent. Those mothers.
Right.
Oh.
I probably got
Speak on it. Speak on it.
I probably have 95% mothers that I deal with out of 200 and something children. You know, so as a matter of fact, there's 3 mothers that I'm getting ready to give awards to soon. Their children have been with me since they were between the ages of 4 and 6. These kids are now 13, 14 years old, straight A's. The parents are consistent. That's the main piece for you mothers. I just want to say thank you, 1, and then 2, stay consistent. You know what I mean? As long as y'all get good male mentors in their lives, they're gonna be all right. But you gotta stay consistent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I deal with a lot of sisters and their children. It's unfortunate, but what I try to do, like even like what you was just saying, you know, sometimes I know that it may be a little difficult, but I think the sisters should take a step back and really analyze what we've been through as men. You know what I mean? Because I was a father early. You know, my oldest daughter is 22 now, or she'd be 22 this year. She's about to graduate with her bachelor's, going back for her master's. Right. She's the perfect daughter. You know what I mean? And I didn't know how to be the best father or nothing. You know what I mean? And even when I was, how old were you? When I had her, shoot, I think I was 17 or something like that. That is young. Yeah, I was 17, and you know, just understand that we come from a really dark and trying place. Yes. And what was done to us, what do they call it? Emasculation of us, and the continuation of that, and the continuation of that symbolically, breeding, and all of that. You see what I'm saying? So there's some things that was done to us specifically. Now, whether you want to take the scripture of Pharaoh, what is it? Kill the men, spare the child and the women, blase, you know, you kill your warriors, you kill your customs, you kill everything, you know. So whether you want to take that literal or symbolic, that's a continuation of what's taking place today, or the attempt thereof, you know. So those are my thoughts.
And it's within a lot of historical documents. Even the Willie Lynch letter, you know what I mean? Even though people think that it's not scholastic, it still holds true today. Absolutely. The division, the divide, we see it on Facebook, social media all the time when we're having conversations, and the male and the females they just have separate mentalities right now about everything, even about how to rear your children. It is. And so I want to know from both of you, like, what do you think is going to bridge that gap between the black male, black female relationship? Because I think until we can repair that, the children, everything's going to be lacking. Community, businesses, of course, the household. What do we need to do to make sure the gap is bridged? And I'm sure there's several things that we need to, identify first.
I think, me personally is doing exactly what you just said, identifying it, right? And then once you identify for what it is, you start to put things in place. It's hard. It's very difficult. The black male, black woman relationship is extremely difficult. Morals and so forth, and especially what they've done with the men. I know they got the sisters believing and thinking that you don't need men. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think we believe that.
Well, I didn't say you believed it, but I will say this. I will say that it's something that they're pushing real heavy, and they have been pushing
the
it
propaganda.
For right. The propaganda.
Yeah.
That's what they've been pushing. They continue to push it, right? And then they undress the sisters. You see what I'm saying? So it makes it real difficult for the men So all of these things are done strategically. Yeah, we, I didn't, but it's all systemic. You know what I mean?
It's
But
systemic.
it's
Yeah.
systemic.
Yeah, it's within, it's intertwined in these systems and like these subsystems. I think it was the Reagan administration that pushed the Section 8s and the different housing, or was that Bush?
No, that was Roosevelt.
What's on Section 8?
That was
I
Roosevelt.
thought it was the Reagan administration.
No, Roosevelt started.
Well, with the Section 8, with the whole section.
I think
Right.
Reagan pushed the
Can
drugs.
I comment on that?
Okay.
I just had this conversation the other day about Section 8, right? Like, if you want it, you got to do what you got to do, right? No knock. But I'm a homeowner, right? And I have a whole bunch of Section 8 tenants around me, and they don't have the knowledge of keeping the yard clean. It started off with a sister and her child, but now she got the baby daddy and all his homies over there all day. I want to sell my house, but I'm saying just if I want to sell my house and I got buyers coming up and down, I'm letting because there was times where I was in the process of buying another house. First thing I look at after getting the knowledge is what the neighborhood looked like.
But that comes for me, that's something that's embedded in you when you are young from your parents. So if you're not a clean person or even have the basic knowledge to know that you want your grass green cut, taken care of, that's not I don't think
Right,
that's
but
a
here,
Section 8.
no, hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. The buyer mentality
Right.
versus Section 8 mentality. Okay. They are like night and day.
I agree.
Okay.
It was the
And it's not
For some.
for some, for most.
For some.
I'm gonna tell you why I say most.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go with for some. Okay, we'll do that, right?
Generated.
But-
Reagan took it over.
Yeah.
Say for most.
Okay.
For some is
For all. I definitely won't say that because there are some,
Just say for most.
That was Reagan.
so I just,
That was-
there you go.
You can't have a man in the house.
Systemically.
It's part of the policy
Right.
within Section 8. So then that's the one way
I
how
don't
you
think
divide.
it's that you can't have a man in the house, but you just have to report that he's in the house.
No, you
Yes.
can't have a man.
You can't have a man.
Can't have a
in the
man.
house.
No, I believe.
No, as long as you report.
I think that it's income based, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So typically they're saying that it needs to be one person home. And I guess not even if it's a man, but usually two people make too much money to qualify, right?
to
Correct.
qualify. So what I was trying to get at with the whole Reagan administration is that the policy was that it was income based. And so women felt like it was, and then you have the war on drugs, right? So then mass incarceration. So a lot of the black men were incarcerated.
Yeah.
So black women got on Section 8. When they got out, they couldn't live in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there was this divide between the men and the women.
Mm-hmm.
And the women felt like, and this is all theory, that they didn't need a man at that time because they was paying, so minimal within the Section 8 guidelines and rent and things like that. So that is a real theory. And so that's why I was asking about the Section 8. Do you think that mentality is still something present today?
Go ahead.
I think that, so I guess, like I said, being primarily raised by my father, so my parents divorced and we went to live with my dad, and then I came in a stepmother, and just my dad was just a strong, good example. So I guess in my life, I never ever thought that I not needed a man. He raised me to know that I don't, but I knew that I did because the example that I had, he was the one that took care of everything. So I was like, man, it's necessary. Like that's how I felt.
I mean,
But-
it's very necessary.
But I was going to say that when we talk about how do we repair the relationship between man and woman, I think between man and woman, we have to trust. However, we both have to give each other something to trust. But it's like, what is that based on? What is our value system? What is our traditional values? Some people don't even have no traditional values. Some people don't have no moral concept. Like they don't have anything to go by. What they do have is social media, though,
But it's
and
basically-
a lot of opinions
And
I
what-
about.
hope they don't have to go for that.
And what you're talking about is based off of loyalty. There's not a lot of loyalty into the, because soon as something happens, someone flees immediately instead of standing and fighting.
Okay,
That's
Come on,
one of the
somebody.
problems.
come on, somebody.
Hmm.
There's it's the fight, flee, or freeze mentality,
yes.
Mhm.
and a lot of people these
Just
days
like-
I see a lot of freezing
Freezing or flighting.
Or
Take a
fleeing.
or flight, yeah, or
Take a
fleeing.
flight.
Fleeing, fighting.
No,
Like,
they,
Yeah.
It's too many options to fight, right?
yeah.
Right. That's good.
I just need men to be on what they was on when my dad was
A man.
a man, growing up, young man, everything. Cause my dad got it right. The men now, these days,
Well, you get then it takes it back to what Qasim was saying. When those men are in the house, who's raising those men that you're complaining about?
Mm.
not their daddies.
No, it's the
Or
mothers.
or
Or
their-
that's the problem.
or-
That's the problem.
or their fathers are raising
It's like
them,
girls need their daddies.
but their
Mhm.
fathers are raising them to be something other.
Right.
And those are
Right.
and that's that percentage of.
I want to say I've never met a man who didn't want to learn how to be a better man.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've never
Right.
met one. And then even bringing it back, excuse me, even bringing it, where's my water? Bringing it back to, I don't drink. I got this right here though. But bringing it back to the little boys that I'm teaching, and stuff like that, because there's nothing in place to really teach men how to be men. If we lost all of our traditional and cultural ways and everything else, and we're constantly under attack, like I really don't think the sisters get the level in which and where we suffer and the stuff that we go through on a day-to-day basis, and all we can do really most of the time is try to empathize with one another. You see what I'm saying? Because it's hard to express it a lot of the times to a woman, because we understand it better than they do, because we're the ones that's going through it,
But don't you feel most comfortable explaining it to us?
Of course, got the queen and all that, but at the end of the day, every man has not, you got to understand art, like what Brother Phelps just said, the first teacher is usually who? Well, not usually, always the mother. You see what I'm saying?
Always.
So if that's the first teacher, and we lose faith and trust in her essence, then that bond is broken at an early age. There's the disconnect between the young boy child and the woman right there. Hell, I grew up, love my mom to death. I'm not gonna speak, love her to death. We still getting things right. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you, she was the first woman that subconsciously I learned to hate, right? Made it very difficult for me coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, made it very, very difficult to look at other women in any other light because of my first teacher, especially not having a father.
But do you think that is because your father wasn't there, so maybe she felt like she had to play both roles? Because I know, like, bringing up my son, I wanted my son to be a boy, I wanted my daughter to be a girl. So that's how I raised him.
Right.
I kept my foot on my son and my foot on my daughter. Okay. My son, I honestly feel like maybe he feels some kind of way, even to this day. Our relationship is cool, but it's not the best. But everything that I did, I feel like I did it because I had to do it. Because I was trying to fill that void to make sure that he always stayed a man. And I don't mean that in no kind of way, but I'm just saying I wanted my son, so he fell in place. He was always in sports, played football, got a scholarship, free college, got his degree. He's on his own, living his life, doing his things self-sufficiently. Like, neither one of my kids asked me for anything. I do what I want to do, and I do. I feel like I do more for my daughter because I was the youngest. She's a girl. But in our relationship, It's like that mothers and daughters thing. Do you have that with your mom? A mother-daughter thing?
My mom is gone, but I did. And
Why is
but it was
that?
earlier on, and I think it's because when young women come into their own. Are you talking about maybe like a thing of contention?
No, my daughter is cool. Like, she was always a good girl, always got A's. This girl got A's all the way through school, including college. Top of her class, everything. But the mother-daughter thing that I'm talking about is the mother-daughter thing.
The rivalry,
The
competing. That's what happens
No,
with the
I'm not
mothers and
gonna say
daughters.
that.
Rivalry,
It's-
competing.
just it's something. It's
I would say that I felt like there was a point of contention, whereas like me and my mother were like competing for power, or like, you know,
Yeah.
I was coming into my own, and she raised me to be a strong, opinionated woman because she was that. So when I had my opinions, she was upset about it, and we were probably more alike than we would want to admit.
But one thing
You
I
know.
will admit, and I agree with that. I
Mhm.
wanted to do my own thing the way that I wanted to do it. But let me tell you this: everything my mom ever tried to tell me
Was right.
was 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
So even with my son, you know, I see traits in my mother that I didn't necessarily like that I have within me with my son, but I think that now
You get it.
I get it, and so I try to stop. I step back, you know, and take a bird's eye view about how that affected me, because as parents, we don't intend to do this, but I think that we do traumatize our children sometimes based off of our behaviors, and there's a lot of parents that don't want to accept that they're traumatizing their children.
Do y'all feel like the relationship that y'all have with your mother affects the relationship that you try to have with your significant other? Do you, because you know you always hear that thing, right? If a man doesn't have a good relationship with his mother, how is he going to be that person for another woman?
So I'm gonna say, yeah, you know, you go through phases where, I'm gonna say, yeah,
If
right,
you don't love
right.
your
I'm
mother.
gonna say, I love my
I'm gonna
mom,
leave it at that.
I love,
I mean, I know you love, but I mean,
Right.
like,
but remember, I just said that earlier on, that that is rooted, you know, our disconnect is rooted in that, right, and that was strategically done, right. That goes back to the Willie Lynch letter, the metaphor, whether you want to take it literally or metaphorically. Okay, the breakdown is real. So once you identify it, now that I've identified it, boom, my house is ran a certain way. You know what I mean? I got my spiritual system, not perfect. You see what I'm saying? I've made my mistakes and blah, blah, and still learning, you know what I mean, how to even connect with the significant other. You see what I'm saying? That's an ongoing journey. Phelps said earlier today, what you say, fight or flight? You know, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Fight, flight, freeze, freeze part. I like that. But that's okay, freeze, flight, okay, flight, whatever, flight, freeze, right? So you got that. But generally with us, you know, it's flight. You know, it's flight.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Don't nobody got no real dog in them anymore.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's good.
And that's the problem. So identifying it, and then coming up with the remedy, you know what I mean? And then, you know, if for whatever reason it don't work out between you and a significant other, get yourself strong enough to the point in which and where you're attracting what you've become. That's, you see what I'm saying?
That takes a lot of self-actualization, though.
Right.
You
It
know,
do.
That does
that's
take
that
a lot of.
mental too that we need to be connecting with as well. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then with Kara, what she said about parts of herself coming out that maybe she didn't appreciate about her mother and projecting that onto her son now, myself included. I think that's everybody who was raised by a parent. As much as we don't like to be like our parents, we turn out being like them somehow, because there are there are parents, and I feel like I'm a 50% of my father, 50% of my mother. I'm talking about in my mannerisms and the way I behave, the way I look. I know I look like both of them. Everybody's like, you look just like your dad. Oh, you look just like your mom. So it's like, I know they are me. I am them. And that's the generational curses. Like there's always room to break those.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I always feel like, don't take this offensively, y'all, but I was raised by my dad. So being raised by a man is different. That's why, like, I say I have a mother thing, because I never grew up with my mom. I grew up with my dad.
Yeah.
So I'm a daddy's girl, and everything that falls in line with that comes with it. And I always felt like when I was in relationships that they should have respected that more, because I did everything. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like it wasn't reciprocated on the same level. It was taken advantage, not advantage, but taken for granted.
Yeah.
But that's because honestly, they dads must not have been very active in their life. That's how I feel. When a man doesn't know how to handle a woman or treat a woman, that falls on the daddy side.
But I do think that it's not really like, I almost know this for sure, actually. It's not about them not having a father. It's about what their fathers exposed them to. Because everybody don't just not have a father.
Well,
like we know that, but I'm saying like,
well,
I know like
they don't know.
Yeah, but I know for a fact, I'm thinking about somebody specifically whose father, he was close with his father, but his father did a lot of different things, and he took on
the traits
of his father. You know what I'm saying? So
But you're exposed to, like, we all were exposed to everything. I feel like growing up as a 70s baby shit, I was exposed to everything under the sun. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to family, everything. You know what I'm saying? Kissing cousins, weird ass uncles, big mamas.
Weird ass uncles, but like nobody ever touched anybody or anything.
That's a weird ass uncle.
I said did not touch anyone.
No, that's a weird ass uncle.
Yeah.
When they're weird and they try to touch you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
one that keep me in a little back room.
yeah, like, but all that shit was, like I said, you don't talk about that shit.
Yeah, and that's what Mike said.
You don't talk about that
You
shit.
sweep all of that under the rug, and then now how do you heal? Because we're
So
silent.
that's what I'm saying. Therapists, all that we were taught. What did you say earlier?
So how to
sweep things under the rug.
Really don't want
keep it in the house.
To be a thing where we feel as Black people that we were just all exposed to all this trauma.
That's
because
how
honestly,
I feel.
I was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being,
Everybody
I denounced
was
being exposed to trauma. And most of the time, anything that I did later on, I exposed myself to it. It wasn't because it was in my presence every day.
Everybody didn't live.
I mean, the most I actually have seen was some domestic violence between my parents, and they divorced. They figured it out that they didn't need to be together. But other than that, like, honestly, I don't have a whole lot of, I don't have like a trauma profile.
People that grew up real poor, that's trauma to me.
I mean, yeah,
When you
absolutely.
grew up poor,
Absolutely.
can't
Absolutely.
go
And then the
right.
thing is, I don't want people to think that just because you grew up in a single parent household that you was traumatized. Not, and sometimes you were actually protecting yourself from the potential trauma.
No, because I feel like I'm one of those successful one parent homes. You know what I'm saying? Both my kids did what
I guess it's maybe
taught
just
them to
trauma
do,
in
you
the
know what I'm
single
saying?
parenting of not having the person or what could have been. But like everybody who has a one parent home, not necessarily being traumatized.
People can make it.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's because if it is a single home, the mom is playing two roles.
Overcompensating.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
However you want to say it, but
So I do have a question. I think Candy and Rose, you kind of spoke. Candy, you were speaking about how, you know, sometimes men grow up feeling like they are entitled to being disrespectful to women. we don't have a black agenda. We don't have a universal black agenda, right? And I put this in a group chat, and like dudes was coming for me or whatever. But what do you think that we should do, Qasim, about black men? And I don't want this to be about black women. Let's do this. Black people, both men and women, who they don't take the time to self reflect and heal, and they get in these relationships and they're perpetuating consistent disrespect and abuse. So then it's a cycle now, right? If that person decides that they don't need to get help, or they don't want help, or they denounce help or reject help, or whatever you want to call it, what then do you think that we as a community collectively should do with that person? Is there anything that we can do with that person?
Beat they ass.
Go ahead.
I said excommunicate them, and then everybody, like, all the men was like, "You a hater, you're male bashing." But
as far as, because I'm trying to understand the question. So the men that are abusive toward women, and you're saying that if they don't get help, then to excommunicate them.
What I'm saying though is they're persistent in their abuse,
right?
And they cannot come to a point, and they have not come to a point where they can say, "Hey, I need help." Maybe help has been offered to them several times and they refuse. What then do you do with them?
Well,
is there anything you can do with them, because they're an individual, right?
I'm gonna tell you something. I keep a group of men around me to hold me accountable, that I can hold accountable, because we all love accountability, even when it don't feel good, right? So I'm able to identify when a brother actually wants to help or not, and if he does not, then we do excommunicating. You see what I'm saying? So,
and what does that look like? What does that excommunication look like?
Well, the excommunication could look like a lot of things. It just depends on the circumstances. You know, if we find out that you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing on such a frequency that is unbearable, then we deal with you, right? Maybe physical, you know, it may be, it have been. You see what I'm saying? Because you ask somebody like me, I'm a dog. You understand? So I only allow a certain type of dog or a certain type of man around me. I'll do something to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm oppressive now.
Yeah.
But well, you know, so I just think that varies. It varies from man to man. It may not have been something that I don't know, but that's how I feel. Yeah, excommunicate.
That's what you feel.
You know what I mean?
Well, myself, I'll stop a brother from raping a black woman. So I do it for real. So I was raised by a mom that couldn't read and write. So I love women. My sister was my number one fan. She made sure that she drove my mom to all my games, and so. And then I'm a Million Man Marcher. I follow Minister Farrakhan, and he teaches that we cannot raise no higher than a woman. And so, I live on those ethics. And so, when the firefighter, pushed a black woman over at Tiger Tom, and that's why I go to Tiger Tom, because they reported it. So I support that business because they supported that black woman. But I challenged that firefighter. So let's fight. We could sanction it. We go to I can get trained by the best in the world, B&B. And you got trained, and then we get the money away to Women's Center for Advancement for domestic violence. And so, but so like I said, it depends on the situation. This last year, so this last year, yes. Oh, hey, keep right down. But we ain't scared over here. No, I'll be 59. Heck yeah. That nonstop. That's nonstop. 59 and fine too. So tall, dark, and handsome. No, that's just life. Being oldest and growing up in the projects, I had to, defend self and defend family. Yeah. And so I learned early that that
Look at you. They was
especially when I
terrible.
had two brothers that got killed at 19. So
Mm.
I try to make great decisions for my mom, but also I let people know that you can't chump me either because death is inevitable.
Yeah.
And so, like Qasim said, it depends on the situation on how you handle whomever
Mhm.
the situation is. Because I was in a rape situation, I handled it different than we handled it in any other situation.
Yeah.
But real men don't allow no bullshit around them.
Right.
Period.
Yes, that's right.
So Qasim brought up a word that's always kind of triggering for me because I talk a lot about this word specifically, but then somebody posted something that I didn't necessarily agree with on Facebook. Of course, Facebook, a world of opinions,
Mhm.
but
Professionals.
yes, that's
Experts.
right, experts. So
Mhm.
he brought up the word accountability,
Mhm.
and this gentleman posted, he said accountability ain't something a woman teach their daughters, a man passes that on. And when I read that, I just really got disgusted because I don't think accountability is a teachable trait. I feel like accountability is something that you gain from your experiences. So it's
Mhm.
like I can't teach you accountability, but you can gain accountability from taking responsibility for your behavior and your actions, figuring out that something worked or did not work in a certain situation. But I can't teach people to be accountable, even as a therapist.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I think you can because my mama taught me, without a doubt, that discipline. Yeah, yeah, because she said life is hard. Cause my mom could read and write, but she has a PhD in common sense. She said life is hard when you go out and make it that way. And so I said, well, dang it, I ain't gonna make life hard on myself.
Right.
So I mean, my mama, and when it came to relationship with my dad, I see my dad maybe about 10 times in my life. I yearned for my dad, but also I was angry at my father because he wasn't there. They were still married, but my dad lived overseas. So what my mom did, she was a very, very intelligent woman. Even though I didn't want to write them because she couldn't write them, she made me write them. She made me write, and then my dad, he wrote back, he responded back, and he acknowledged me, and so we had more of a writing relationship. And then when he did come back, I'll take him to the bars, all the bars and stuff like that. But I didn't like him when he drank because he was abusive to my mom verbally. And so I took the good from him because he always told me to go straight, son, go straight. So I can recognize anyone crooked by what they say, what they don't say, or when they walk in the room. I can recognize a crooked person. So I learned. I learned from my father. I took the great things from him, and I left the bad things. Just like my mom, I didn't gamble. They gambled. I took the great things from my mom. I left the gambling alone. So when I go to Vegas, I actually go see God. I go to Heavily Grounded, which is a pharmacy with all the herbs of the earth and as far as healing. And so I really go see God for real. When people think I'm laughing when I go to Vegas. No, I go out to see God. I don't gamble.
I was so bored in Vegas because I don't.
It is. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, right. Yeah. You have to participate in sin. You don't have to.
I just went to all the little Keithley approved restaurants and ate good the whole time I was there.
Heck yeah. I love Vegas. I love Vegas.
I don't.
I hate
Yeah,
Vegas.
you like Vegas?
I was fighting the whole time.
You was fighting really?
Because you know, I'm
Yeah, you was working. You was
stuff.
working. So you get a chance to enjoy.
Before we get out of here, I want y'all to plug your businesses, anything you got going on, so the people can connect and follow you or hit you up or whatever. Let's start with you, Rose.
I am Rose Jackson. You can find me on www.psychologytoday.com. You can find my profile there. I'm actually a private practice at Creative Counseling and Studio. We specialize in art therapy, and we have therapists there that are willing to help anyone that needs some help.
What's your contact number?
Big shout out to Yasmin Tucker. Phone number is 402-401-4445.
All right.
Thank you, Rose.
Brother Qasim, but you got something coming up?
We're going to be our official therapist. Whenever we need to feel like we need to bring an expert on, you the one. You the one.
That's like remember when Montel Williams used to have that that medium? What's her name? Sonia.
Yeah, she told a lot of
Sylvia Brown.
Sylvia Brown.
She was a prophet.
Yeah, Sylvia Brown. Yeah.
My brother.
Qasim Shabazz. You catch me on Facebook and TikTok. Yeah, I got me a TikTok. Man, no, I ain't danced yet. I got a couple virals on there. What else I need?
What's your TikTok?
What is it?
Spell it.
Qasim Shabazz.
Q.
What is it?
SHABAZZ.
I just
I
know.
don't know if you got like a space or something in
Oh,
between.
boom! I found them.
Okay, there you go.
Don't play with me.
And then talk a little bit about BAA.
Okay.
Like a snippet.
Plug all your businesses, bro.
And who are the leadership in BAA?
So we got myself, we got James Henley, we got Wesley Williams, Christopher McMurray. That's your chair for the Black Agenda Alliance. Businesses, the Bodyguard LLC. I do a lot of protective work, both private bodyguard and crowd control and bounty hunting and
Do a
everything
very
else.
good job. I
Thank
feel
you.
if I
Appreciate
pull
it.
up somewhere and I see that you and you got your guys on duty, I feel safe.
Appreciate it.
I don't feel safe with everybody.
Yeah.
Because I know you're gonna protect us.
Appreciate it.
Without doubt.
Flag football or Urban Flag Football League.
Mm.
We'll be doing registration in March. That's
What's
for
the
them.
ages on that?
Ages 6 to 12.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
5 to 12. I'm sorry, we
In
went
March.
up.
Yeah,
Okay. I want to be a part of that.
Okay.
Me personally, I really do appreciate the two guests that we have on today. Rose and I have been friends for over 20 years. We went to school together. She's always been this way, just a stand-up woman. Qasim and I are cousins, and same thing, just always been a stand-up guy. So you all support them. If you need help, if you need mental assistance, if you need any of the sorts, go to Rose. Like,
Please.
she's
Support
awesome
her.
at what she does. If you need help with your young boys and helping them to, if they need mentorship, I'll say that. Please reach out to
Or wanna play
Qasim.
flag football.
Or want to play flag football, yes.
Or want to donate and help cut the grass.
Any of that.
Yeah, all the above, all the above, all the above. We'll be back here in another 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's 6 o'clock, so make sure you guys
What
tune
day is
in.
that? Let's give a date.
I know it got to be March something, or
March 4th.
time is moving by fast. Time is moving by.
Oh, March 4th. Yeah,
March 4th,
4th
okay.
and the 18th.
So again, we want to thank our guests. I remember, Miss Jackson?
Mrs. Jackson.
Mrs. Jackson.
You helped raise me. Helped me
Yeah.
grow.
As a
Watch me grow
young
up.
lady, I seen her grow up, and it's good to see you mature to be a therapist. So congratulations, without
Thank you.
doubt.
And thank y'all for having me.
Yeah. We need more of our young people to manifest their greatness. And if you're a Black man, if you listen right now, we cannot no longer suppress our greatness. We got to be great this year. Our families need us to be great, without a doubt. And by being great, all we're doing is manifesting our God-given talents, and we're bragging off God. Everybody brag off the devil every day. Let's brag off God a little bit.
Let's end with a prayer. You want to go ahead and
Go ahead, Kara.
come on? You the guest. Come on. Okay, yes. On you. Come on.
What, that's what. Well, Jesus drank a little wine.
Don't judge us. Let's go.
I want to thank God for bringing us here. It's been a blessing to bring all these minds together, to bring this community together. Sometimes they have to mimic what they see, and what they're seeing right now is a great representation of greatness. We appreciate you, Lord. Please make sure everybody's safe, and somebody cook me some breakfast in the morning. Amen.
Amen. You can meet me in first class.
That's good.
All right.
Omaha the Birds, we appreciate you guys. Listen to 95.7 The Balls. Continue to support us. We will continue to bring knowledge that's necessary for our community to grow. Without a doubt, baby. 95.7 The Balls. Keep bossing with us, y'all.
That's good. Good job, guys. Good
I was
job.
totally prepared to talk about body image.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Keep it locked right here.
Get ready for the Fleet DJs, the Boss Buffet.
It's like a home cooked meal. We ain't gonna give y'all none of that fast food.
The Fleet DJs in the mix with today's R&B throwbacks. You ain't here to party. Hip hop.